had it planned in March already, but nevertheless, I'm very grateful that I can now address you via Zoom. And as Anna Felipe said, my name is Martina, and I work in the international department of the Austrian production workers. We represent blue-collar workers uh, from metalworking, in the chemical sector, textile sector, and also in the food sector. And the reason why I can't be with you are the travel restrictions due to the pandemic. And in Austria at the moment, we are facing an alarmingly rising number of COVID cases. Today, we have had 2,500 new COVID cases, and this is really increasing in a dramatic way. We do everything in Austria now, uh, together with the government, to avoid a second lockdown as we had in March. And why this? Because the impact of that lockdown was dramatic. We are faced with high unemployment. And in spring, we had at the moment in April 1,800,000 people out of work. So we have a population of 8 million. So you can imagine that almost 40% at that time were out of work. 1 million was at that time in short-time work and 800,000 unemployed. But then in summer, the situation improved. But now, nevertheless, we have 400,000 people, jobless people, and 400,000 on short-term work. And what is really alarming in this situation, that a lot of young people are out of work in Austria. We have, as you may know, a dual system of apprentices. So young people, school leavers, they have a workplace in a company, and then they do the theoretical training at a vocational school. And we have now 50,000 young people who are desperately seeking a workplace and also a place for vocational training. And normally winter now that is coming is a season we look forward in our country because of skiing and of winter tourism, but not this year, because tourism is, as was mentioned before by the colleague from Malta, winter tourism is very important for Austria, but not this year because of the restrictions. So the situation is uncertain. And in this situation, also as a trade union, we have to rely on something that can stabilize the economic situation, and that has helped us before and steered us through times of crisis. And this is in Austria what we have, what we call the Austrian model of social partnership, of social dialogue with government on one side, but more important in Austria with the employers. So this system is important for us. And then what also is helpful in this crisis is the collective bargaining. The collective bargaining, this is mainly in Austria at sectoral level between the branch unions and the employer organizations of the branches. And the system of co-determination that goes far beyond information and consultation that we have at plant level. So the key partners we have in Austria is the Employers Association. So each employer, no matter what kind of size his company has and how many employees he has, he is a compulsory member of the association, of this chamber of commerce. So, and the result of this is for us as trade unions and for the employees in Austria is very important. These employers, they have to apply the collective agreement of their sector, of their subunit. So as a result, almost 100% of the whole workforce in Austria, of all employees, are covered by a collective agreement. Social dialogue in Austria, as we know it, the system of co-determination, everything is based on legal norms. This is all laid down in our labor constitution law. But there is also and has been a culture and in form of consent seeking between organized business and labor. And all the governments we have had till 2000, and they were all committed to this social dialogue and this social partnership. But since the beginning of 2000, when we had the first right-wing governments in Austria, we noticed a shift. And this shift is more pronounced since we have now a neoliberal government since 2016, that they want to leave this path of consultation of interests. But we nevertheless, in this crisis, we see that we use these instruments. We use this social dialogue on one hand, and we lose our collective bargaining system. And as I mentioned before, collective agreements are concluded in Austria at branch level. And in the private sector, the metal sector, the negotiations in the metal sector play a very important role. They are the wage leader, and they usually start at the end of September, the so-called autumn bargaining round. This year, the employers, they came to us, and because our union, we negotiate these collective agreements in the metal sector for almost 200,000 workers, and they wanted us to suspend the negotiations. They said, in this situation, we can't share anything with you, and we can't give anybody anything. And they pointed out that, of course, we have a slump in economic activity, and the industry is hard hit in Austria. We have a reduction of 20% of production. But nevertheless, as union, we insisted on this collective agreement, on collective bargaining, because it is important. It is important just to secure purchasing power, to secure the incomes of our employees, of our workers in such a crisis. And this also helps to stabilize the economy, to stimulate the demand, and thus to keep everything going. At the end, we really reached the conclusion of a collective agreement. We could set of the inflation rate. It is a modest increase, 1.5, but nevertheless, and everybody now in the sector, metal sector, will get an additional bonus, Corona bonus, because of all the difficulties we're living through. What is another important factor is the system of co-determination I mentioned before. We have a dual system of workers' interest representation in the companies. We have at one hand us, the trade unions. We negotiate, we conclude agreements, and we have the works councils there in the companies. They act as our intermediaries between the workforce and the employer. And they are equipped with co-determination rights that go far beyond the information and consultation rights of the European directives and the European Works Councils. These Works Councils in Austria now, they negotiate plant level agreements on working time or additional benefits. And what is now important in this time of restructuring, they can also negotiate with the employer a social plan when it comes to redundancy and layoffs. Because also in Austria now, we have companies that are faced with restructuring and massive layoffs. I can only give you an example. Last week, we had a demonstration of 4,000 people in a small town in Upper Austria, and a warning strike. And what is the matter? Because the company group MAN, producing buses and trucks, this company belongs to the Volkswagen Group, they announced that they want to close their location. And 2,300 workers there producing buses and trucks will lose their job. But not only these 2,300, but there are also supplier firms then affected. And all together in a very small town of 10,000 people, 6,000 will lose the job. So we staged there a demonstration and a warning strike. But a social plan will be negotiated, and this is very important that we have such a system at plant level where works council can negotiate this. We do not have a separate trade union structure in Austria as in other countries, and the works councils recruit our union members. So, and for that they recruit our members, we offer them cost-free training and legal consultation. Works councils are represented in our highest decision-making bodies in our union, and they have to say in our union. So these works councils at plant level, and we as trade unions now in Austria, we're fighting together to defend the workers' rights in this time of crisis and restructuring. And we will all keep on fighting in these companies, in the automotive supply industry that is in Austria especially affected, but also in other companies where jobs are at stake. And the involvement also of trade unions at the highest level, together with the government, is very important to tackle the pandemic in Austria. In March, the social partners and the government, they designed a Corona short-time work scheme. At the beginning, the government provided 400 million euros, but then they gradually increased it to 12 billion euros to finance short-time work. This model has been now prolonged to March 2021, because we are not certain how long this crisis will last, and it is important to save as many jobs as possible during this time. Short-time work in Austria means that during this economic difficulty, an employer can reduce working time up to 30%. At least 30% of the working time has to be worked. The replacement rate is 80–90% for the workers, and now it has to be combined with training measures. This short-time work helped a lot to maintain employment. And this we could achieve, and the government prolonged it. But nevertheless, we remain critical to our government in Austria, because we know that they will continue this neoliberal path and transform it and pave the way for privatization. And currently, at the moment, we see that a good health system and hospitals that are run by the state, that they are really needed in this in this health crisis. So therefore, we will put up resistance against these plans. At the moment, we are fighting that the government will not raise the pension age again. So we will remain critical, and we will do everything. And we do not want to be only firefighters in times of crisis, that we together help in such a situation, but we will be social partners that want to have a say, and that will continue to have a say in labor, social, and economic policy, just to help to stabilize the situation. And this is, I want to address all other union representatives here from Europe, and they should be aware of that. Yeah, because this is a moment where you involve trade unions, but you should also in the future always involve unions in decision making and not leave them out,